Adam, midweek as the Buffs prepare for Delaware this week, and it was linebacker day. We got linebackers coach Andre Hart, as well as the starting linebackers Martavius French, Reggie Hughes, and obviously that group has been challenged by Coach Prime, who mentioned there might even be some more rotation this week. But that group, they know they got to step up this week.
Yeah, like you said, it's a group that's getting challenged right out of the gate because now that was maybe the toughest test those linebackers are going to face all season. Maybe not from a overall talent standpoint, just from a bunch of new linebackers in a room having to go against a really complicated offense to defend. I don't really still know what to make of that linebackers room because there were real good flashes by a lot of those guys. Reggie Hughes led the team in tackles. Martavius French was opportunistic with those takeaways. And I thought Sean Myers came in there and made some good plays as well. So the overall results of giving up 320 yards as a defense, and linebackers are obviously a big part of that, makes you not feel great about it. But the individual players, I feel, are going to be getting better as the season goes along.
Yeah, and they mentioned that, Martavius and Reggie both specifically were asked about communication, and both saying how that's kind of a work in progress. All these guys are from different places, right? And so it's probably going to take some time. I asked Martavius if it's different. You went through a month of camp, but is it different being in the game? And he kind of laughed. He goes, yes, it's very different, once you get in the game. And I expect that to get better as the season goes along and they're more comfortable with each other.
Yeah, this is the third year in a row where it seems like they're still kind of figuring out the pieces there early in the season. And the previous 2 years, 2 years ago, Vaughn Bentley had a really good second half of the season. I know the team struggled in the second half of that 23 season, but he really came on. And then obviously last year, it was a little bit earlier last year. Bentley and Hill Green kind of took the reins of it, but not right out of the gate. So, I do like the potential of that group. Reggie Hughes, you got to look at the fact this is the first time he's ever had in-helmet communication during games, and that's something that you have to get used to with a lot of things going on around you. So it's kind of a learning process for that group right now. I think it's going to be a pretty good group, like I said.
Yeah, and the group, like I said, they're from all different places. I mean, Reggie Hughes was at Jacksonville State, Martavius was at UTSA, Jeremiah Brown was here, but you had Sean Myers was at North Alabama. So all these different places. Last year the one thing they had is they had the continuity a little bit of Levante Bentley from the year before. This year they don't have that. I mean, it's a whole new group. I expect it to be a work in progress.
Yeah, and I think what we have seen, though, is Hughes and French kind of try to take ownership of that group. And I think, getting challenged out of the gate might not be the worst thing for that group. I think it's really going to push them to get better.
Yeah, Coach Andre Hart was asked about the younger guys too, Kylan Salter, Mantrez Walker, and said they're doing well, but they're still cooking. They still got some work to do.
Yeah, I think, Mantrez Walker has got a lot of tools and to be a really good inside linebacker, but you don't really want to thrust a true freshman into a situation like that, even for a guy like that played at Buford in Georgia, playing in a lot of big football games. So you kind of usually linebacker is one of those groups that's kind of nice. You can ease those guys in a little bit on special teams to kind of get their feet wet. But I really would be surprised outside of those top four guys if the rotation goes much beyond that this season unless there are injuries.
Coach Prime did mention this week that he expects more rotation at that spot this week. We always saw Jeremiah Brown, I think a couple of snaps, Sean Myers for 11 or 12. Do you think we're going to see those guys a little bit more than we saw last week?
I think so, at least early on. But, Coach Hart has also been one of those guys that if, like you said, with Martavius French, he got a couple fumble recoveries and almost got a sack, and that you kind of roll with the hot hand. So you'll have to do that a little bit. But this is one of those football games you can't take for granted, but you're hoping to get out to a pretty sizable lead, and then you could get Salter in there and maybe Walker for a series, and that would be great. But it's up to those frontline guys to help build that scoreboard up for those younger guys to get in there.
Yeah, they didn't have the greatest game either last week. So that whole front seven is really going to be challenged this week.
Yeah, and I think that Delaware poses a few challenges here and there. They do have a dual threat quarterback. It is a program that won a lot of football games in the FCS ranks, so there's a winning culture there. And even a lot of the preseason publications say right out of the gate that could be a mid-level Sun Belt type team. So they're supposed to be competitive in their conference right away. But this is one of those games. If you're Colorado and you want to contend for the Big 12 championship, we saw what a lot of those teams that are expecting to compete in the Big 12 did against lower opponents last weekend, and most of them got a blowout victory. Arizona State not as much, but it was a lot of blowout wins in games that you need to. So you need to see that out of this Colorado team on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a big game for this team to bounce back, and especially defensively, they've got to look better. Anything else for you this week? Before we're going to do a game preview later on this week, but anything else?
Well, it's one of those weeks that it's been interesting to kind of see the fans' reaction to a lot of stuff. The first loss of the season just seems to really bring out a lot of anger from people. So it's like now I feel like I'm really back into season mode now, that kind of navigating some of those landmines that are out there. But I get it. I mean, obviously fan is short for fanatic. We know that. But, man, it's just right back into it.
Yeah, well, and when that first loss comes in week one, it obviously feels like almost a sky is falling type of feeling. But it's different if it comes in week 5, But, yeah, certainly the Buffs behind the 8 ball a little bit this week, but it's a huge one this week, an opportunity. I think they're 23.5-point favorites, and so big opportunity this week.
Yeah, and that's yet another reason that a blowout win would be great, because I think the fans want to flush the taste of that loss to Georgia Tech out of their mouths.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll be back later on this week for a game preview.